MSP partners, as I will make you an introduction into MSP tools which we currently have available in our GFI portfolio. So, for those who know us, maybe you are questioning yourself, GFI as MSP vendor? Well, yes. And it's our strategical vision for our GFI future. Our GFI MSP future officially began on Valentine's Day last week in Florida, where we were sponsoring the biggest global MSP event. And we were officially launching the single pane of glass management console, which is specifically needed for MSPs. But first, let's review our portfolio to be sure that all of you here exactly know what tools GFI offers. So not all of the mentioned products, which I will mention here, are available in MSP way, but we will be adding more and more of them to be available also for MSP partners. So our current portfolio consists of products dedicated for cybersecurity. There we have a vulnerability scanner and patch management solution called GFI LanGuard. Then we have a next generation firewall and unified threat management KerioControl, and SMTP gateway for kind of different mail servers, which is called GFI Mail Essentials. The second group of our products is dedicated to communication. So under the communication hood, we do have Kerio Connect, well-known mail server, more than 20 years on the market. Then GFI Help Desk, a ticketing help desk solution with live chat function. And then we do have FaxMaker, which is used for compliant fax communication, and also Archiver for archiving emails and files. It is really a great solution also for compliant needs such as GDPR or even NIS2 or NIS2. The third group is dedicated to the network. Specifically, we have their tools for improving quality of service of critical applications. This is provided by our Exinda network orchestrator, and we do have also SD-WAN, a network router for multi-element WAN and also prioritization. So what advantages our portfolio has? First advantage is that they are for critical and non-critical infrastructure, because critical infrastructure is needed for every company. It doesn't matter whether this company has 1 user or 1,000 users. Simply every company who has some email and they have some devices which are connecting to the internet, they need this critical infrastructure. And these products, which I mentioned previously, are from segments from, let's say, communication and security, like, I don't know, mail server and firewall. And so the advantage is that they are from one vendor. And is it really hard to find such vendor on the market having this strong combination of the products under one portfolio? The second biggest advantage is that they are truly tailor-made for SMBs. So what is important for SMB products? That they should contain 3 key facts. They need to be intuitive for end users. They have to be easy to understand, and they should be stable. And also there is maybe fourth key element, and this is that they needs to be affordable for SMB budgets. And the third advantage of our GFI products is that we do have data privacy as a key principle of our non-on-premise products. So these products are especially appropriate in verticals which requires control of data privacy, like government, education, healthcare, law firms, labs, production lines, and many, many others who work with very sensitive data of other persons, or they work with very sensitive know-how. So especially when we consider that we live or do business in European Union, here is very strong GDPR policy. And according to article number 25, which says about the right to be forgotten, what can be really fulfilled with conventional cloud solutions, where the migration of the data is kind of very difficult, and you are not really 100% sure how much data is leaked, as there are very complex ways and infrastructure how cloud works. And now let me discover what products we currently offer in MSP way. So from all of these which you saw in our portfolio, now I will show you what are available in MSP way, the products. So as I mentioned, we will be adding more and more of our products to the MSP licensing model. So what do we have under the MSP hood right now? We have there 3 products. First is KerioConnect, which is an email server hosted by MSP in private or local cloud. Then we have Kerio Operator, which is a voice over IP solution. And then the third one is KerioControl Firewall as a Service. This is a fresh thing. We launched it publicly just 2 weeks ago on February 8th. So I will dedicate more time to this product in next slides. So let's see what is GFI KerioConnect MSP. Technically, it is the same product as KerioConnect, which is a complete messaging platform that consists of email server with instant messaging, calendar, accounts, contacts, and so on. And this product is on the market for really more than 20 years, and we do have more than 30,000 companies around the world which are using KerioConnect. So it's an easy to understand product without the complexity or expense of bigger platforms. So that's why this solution is really good alternative for small or mid-sized business clients. But how are MSPs currently are using this product? So with our MSP licensing model, our MSP partners, they are currently hosting KerioConnect, and it can be hosted in different ways, on their own infrastructure or in local data centers or as a virtual machine. Billing is on monthly basis for actual amount of users, and it can be started from as low as just 1 user, and you are able to get the license for MSP. So you don't have to be worried about some kind of quota requirements. And then, as mentioned previously, I will dedicate more time to KerioControl Firewall as a Service, because this is a fresh new product which is available to any interested MSP partner already now. And so let's have a look. What is this product about? I'm sure many of you on this call know what the main features or use cases of KerioControl are, but still I would like to mention a few main features and use cases just in very high level. So KerioControl has a set of very powerful features such as application awareness and web filter, which will enable you to create policies to prevent wrong content or applications to be used in your infrastructure. It has also advanced antivirus protection powered by Bitdefender. It has own VPN server with native VPN client, also load balancing and link failover once you have multiple links, and of course proxy, DHCP, DNS, and high availability in active-passive configuration to increase this reliability of your connection. So what are the differences between standard KerioControl and KerioControl Firewall as a Service? On the left side, we can see what was available until now and what you maybe are using. It is the standard yearly subscription where customer is paying for maximum allowed users in the licenses. On the right side, we have the new option, which we call Firewall as a Service. In this case, it's a monthly subscription based on actual usage, so it's dynamic and it can be different every month. Firewall as a Service is also service offered by MSP partner, where part of this is delivered by KerioControl. Why I'm saying part? Because partner is managing it. He's responsible for his operations 24/7. He's managing the alerts, logs, devices, monitoring connections, creation of policies, etc. So this is added value of which is provided by the partner. Such MSPs are managing multiple customers and multiple KerioControl across different geographical locations and also with different deployment scenarios. And what are these deployment options or scenarios? There are three ways in which the MSP can deploy KerioControl on their customer side for their service offerings. First, MSP can buy a hardware box or more boxes as per their estimate of the demand and deploy them on the customer side. We have three different models available, with the lowest being able to support up to 100 devices and the highest one being able to support up to 1,500 devices. So the second option is for the MSP to install KerioControl on a customized bare metal server that would fit the needs of the client. And to support this better, in Q2, we will add and launch also UEFI support, which is expected by many of our partners. And the third option is for the MSP to install the KerioControl virtual appliance on customers' premises. So practically all three deployments scenarios are the same for standard KerioControl and also KerioControl Firewall as a Service. One function which I want to highlight is also KerioControl API. API is heavily used by MSPs across different products, as with use of API, they can get high level of automation, and most importantly, they can have fast reactions, which will enable them to keep their SLAs. And KerioControl offers quite extensive API where you can do really a lot of stuff. And let me show you maybe some examples of API. So we can say, for example, that you can use API to read actual number of users and devices, which tells you how the billing will look like, or you can integrate KerioControl with other systems to create automatic response on events or threats. For example, when CM or similar system will detect the threat, or it can trigger a creation of firewall rule in KerioControl to automatically intercept and stop in timely fashion. Very similar functionality will be also present in upcoming GFI App Manager. And maybe the third example is that you can, of course, use automated user management, which can be perhaps even integrated into some portals where user can register and automatically they can get VPN user created in KerioControl. So the possibilities are endless and can very much fit your business needs or your service offerings. As we will add additional products from our portfolio to be available for our MSP partners, there will be more and more different tools with different interfaces, different dashboards, etc. So the question is there missing something? And well, yes, it is, and it is a GFI App Manager. What is GFI App Manager? Actually, it is really a game changer. It's a modern, extensible cloud platform that enables remote management and monitoring of all GFI products from a single web-based interface. So we want to add also in the later stage that App Manager will be extensible to include also non-GFI products through its open API, and not only the products. For the managed service providers, we will also include a dashboard view of all the accounts which are under the MSP partner. So it's truly great, and it's a revolutionary thing which enabled us to enter MSP world. So GFI App Manager is currently in closed beta and will be generally available and launched in Q1, end of Q1 2023, so practically in this quarter. GFI App Manager represents a really major milestone in our commitment to providing our partners with really cutting-edge technology and the ability to impact our partners and their end users in managing their critical IT systems. So the main aim for App Manager is to first enable MSPs, and the second, adopt multiple products. The benefits of App Manager are that it is cloud-based service, it is a central management console, it provides alerting in case of emergencies, it is multi-tenant solution, so you can include all your accounts there. It prepares reports, which you can share with your customers, and also it is actively monitoring the situation, so it is saving your time and energy. Here I will show you some screenshots from App Manager. So in each group or for each device, user will be able to see actual real-time status of the deployment. This is addressing the monitoring capability, which is very important, especially for MSP partners, as SLA they provide is bonded also with their capability to recognize and address the problems. So MSP partner will be receiving notifications about failures or impending failures. On this screenshot, here is the screenshot of the fleet management. So the fleet management is really simplified and streamlined. So it's covering really a deep breadth of IT capabilities and SMB needs. So MSPs can instantly push configurations to any and all appliances under management, making it really easy to administer the array of installed solutions across multiple locations. And on these screenshots, we can see something which will be really important for compliance reasons. So a GFI App Manager helps organizations to stay also compliant with important regulations such as GDPR or even the new EU Cybersecurity Directive NIS2. And also, for example, ISO 27001. So the GFI App Manager solution provides comprehensive reporting and gap analysis capabilities, which allows the team of MSP partner to provide really and identify areas where they are maybe non-compliant and take the necessary steps to fix it. And what will be truly innovative will be our radar, which will be built in GFI App Manager. And what is radar? It is an abbreviation of our registered trademark solution, and it means risk and anomaly detection, alerts, and response. So with GFI App Manager's radar feature, native threat intelligence and response capabilities are automated by machine learning. So really, IT teams can quickly respond to any potential threats. They can minimize the risk to an organization's critical systems and also to organization's data. And GFI App Manager will be coming in next stage of App Manager development. So currently it is also in beta stage. So really stay tuned as the launch should be announced soon. We are at the end. This is all what I have prepared as an introduction of what we currently have for MSP partners. I want to thank you for your attention, and as said before, stay tuned because many positive things will be announced soon. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask or send us a message directly to me or to Nebojša. And maybe I can give the word to my colleague Joseph, who has interesting presentation prepared about NIS2.
Great. Lenka, thank you very much. Thank you very much that you did not sing. I doubt that you would that we would survive. Joseph, stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nebojša and Lenka, and also hello and thank you everyone that you are here and that you joined. So let me share my screen for a change. I hope you can see it. It should be there.
Yes.
All right. So first of all, let me introduce myself. So my name is Joseph Kacala. I work in GFI as a VP of Sales Engineering. And my today's presentation will be around NIS2 and how GFI software can help, or what the GFI software is able to bring on it. So the agenda will be fairly simple because I think we have like 15 to 20 minutes. So I would not go into huge details to not put you into sleep. about regulations and this kind of stuff. But still, we'll need to answer what is NIS2, what it covers, how GFI can help, and then we'll have some sort of summary. So first of all, the NIS2 is a European Union Cybersecurity Directive, which mandates what security practices are important and essential. Suppliers must have them. So this is one of the biggest change comparing to other regulations, even for example GDPR, because with NIS2 really mandates, right? So it's not like it's nice to have or you should have, but you need to have, right? So it's actually going to enforce that more or less. A lot of things around NIS2 are still not fully clear. We will have a look on the timeline. And another important thing which I need to say is that I'm not a lawyer, right? So all the NIS2 explanation which I'm going to provide you is available on the internet. It's available on European Union websites. It's not what I'm making on my own, right? So I took the data, I worked with the data, etc. So you can find the same information. And I'm not going to give you any legal advice. I'm just going to explain you what it likely means and what will likely happen. Right. So the biggest difference between other regulations is that NIS2 really mandates security practices. Another thing which NIS2 actually is going around, that it's suggesting a certain framework, right? This framework maybe in later stages will be not a suggestion, but right now as it stands, it's a suggestion. So they are suggesting basically to have a risk management, to have security policies. From security policies, it could be pretty much anything. It could be security policies on the firewall. It could be security policies in antivirus, etc., etc. So security policies in general. Incident handling, which is basically constructed from 3 different processes or 3 different stuff, which is prevention, detection, and response. Supply chain security, vulnerability handling and disclosure, regular assessment to determine the effectiveness of cybersecurity risk measures, and finally, the use of cryptography and encryption where warranted. So maybe probably you are asking, this is another thing from European Union and it will be same as GDPR, maybe it will be good, maybe it will be bad. So what is the difference between NIS2 and the GDPR? So first of all, GDPR demands that every organization, whether in European Union or outside of European Union, respect and protect personal data of European citizens, right? So we all know what the personal data is. It was a full internet of it like 3-4 years ago. Emails, names, social security numbers, IDs, all this stuff. NIS2, on the other hand, as mentioned, demands organizations that supply important or essential services for the European infrastructure that they need to have right measurements in place to minimize possible incidents, right? So we are going from the personal data, which was GDPR and all around citizens and this stuff, to a segment of more or less good being or well-being or supply chain of the whole European Union, right? So this basically means, and we will cover that on the next slide, that it tries to protect the foundation of the European Union industry, right? So that is the NIS2 in the nutshell. So as you probably figured, the NIS2 will be applied to European Union, then United Kingdom, because it has a very close relationship to European Union, and who knows, maybe they will rejoin again sometimes when they will change their minds. But yeah, since they are very close to European Union, they're doing a lot of business, a lot of European vendors are there, a lot of European companies. So United Kingdom is going to get something similar. It will not be called NIS2. Likely it will be some addition to existing cybersecurity law, which is already active in United Kingdom. And then surprisingly, India is adopting something similar, right? So it's being called CERT India, right? That is their variation of NIS2. And I'm personally expecting then the same stuff will happen to other countries as well. So US, Canada, Latin America, probably other countries in Asia. And it's absolutely logical because we've seen that already, right? The cyber attacks on critical infrastructure, cyber attacks on power distributions, and all this other stuff. And this should prevent it, or at least it should strengthen the defenses which are already in place in such environments. So, as pretty much highlighted, why the NIS2 is here. So, in the cybersecurity is always an arms race, right? So you have the good guys on the left side and the bad guys on the right side, and they are trying to find the holes. And the question is, who will find the hole first? The good guys, which will fill the hole, pretty much preventing the bad guys to come in, or the bad guys, which will use the vulnerability, use the hole, get inside of the infrastructure and do harm, right? So it's really an arms race. And in this time, the cybersecurity is even more important than ever before, because we in European Union are seeing even more attacks on critical infrastructure for more or less known reasons, which basically brings me into what industries or what companies will be basically hit by NIS2, or which company needs to 100% apply to it. So there are 8 different industries: energy, transport, banking, financial market infrastructure, digital services marketplace, search engines, cloud services, drinking water supply and distribution, and healthcare, right? So if you have a helicopter view on what I mentioned, then it's absolutely clear that European Union with NIS2 is trying to defend the foundation to the whole industry, trying to defend the foundation to, well, the whole society, right? They just want to keep the essential businesses, to keep essential factories or essential stuff to run, to not be bring down by a ransomware, to not be taken down by a denial of service attack, or not being hacked, right? This is, again, what the NIS2 is all about, to protect. This whole thing will apply on companies in those industries which have more than 50 employees, right? So this is, again, a very interesting fact, because a lot of other regulations which are, for example, active in US or active even in different countries in Europe are not taking into consideration 50 employees, right? In most cases, they are going high to enterprise level. 50 employees is really an SMB, right? And the second requirement is 10 million euros of revenue, right? So not the actual gain, but the entire revenue, right? So 50 employees, 10 million euros, and these industries which you can actually see on the slides. We were already doing some research with Zebra, actually, and my question to Zebra was like, how many MSP partners who are offering email as a service, right, do we have, and how many of these partners are having more than 50 employees and more than 10 million of revenue, right? And there were a lot of these partners already existing under Zebra, and all of these guys will actually be covered in the bottom right corner under the cloud services. So maybe some of you who is on this call are already providing cloud services such as email, or maybe different one. You have maybe than 50 employees, and maybe you are making more than 10 million. So in that case, the NIS2 will more or less apply to you as well. So what are the dates, or let's say, what is the timeline? So the NIS2 was officially introduced in January 2023. Already in 2022, and I believe Lenka can acknowledge that as well, where we were present on multiple conferences and multiple webinars where NIS2 was already like more or less acknowledged by other vendors, or acknowledged by lawyer firms, or by some auditing entities. So people knew about NIS2, but pretty much since January 2023, it's official. In October 2024, it will be applied. Then in January 2025, there will be an established CSIRT, Network Peer Reviews Methodology, and then in April 2025, Entities List and Classification. So it will be a little bit slower process, which is basically under the hood telling us that they want to do it correctly. And this means that if the NIS2 will be applied on you, then there will be pretty much no way to skip it. right? So this is so far what we see. So far we pretty much cover what is NIS2, on who will be, on what industries and what companies this will be applied, etc., etc. But why this is a problem, right? So as I'm sure you remember from GDPR, because that was one of the first shock everyone actually got, that European Union really likes to enforce the laws with penalties. And in this case, the penalty is, I would say, very similar as with GDPR. So it's 10 million or 2% of the organization's total revenue, whatever is higher, right? So this is quite a thing, because on one end, they are saying that 50 employees and 10 million of revenue. And then on the other hand, it's telling you that, okay, if you're not going to follow and you will be hacked, etc., and you will not have the needed framework in place, or suggested framework in place, then you'll need to pay 10 millions or 2% of revenue. So if you're making 10 million, then you're going to pay 10 million. I mean, I didn't find any other reference around it, but this doesn't feel right. And if it really is like that, then I think that's a huge problem, because that can literally stop the business of the company. So it's going to be more or less like termination penalty. But let's see. I believe that in next months, this whole situation will be more clear. Very important thing is that over here, the European Union was actually thinking on applying the responsibility to a specific people, right? So over here you can see CEO and high-ranking officials will be absolutely personally liable in case that there will be a compliance problem or incident which happened because of organization was not meeting the NIS2 or was not applying any countermeasures according to NIS2, right? So this is a bit of change. To be really honest, I'm not familiar with any other law on the planet which is exactly aiming on high-ranking officers, which from the other perspective makes perfect sense. And also it could be used as a sales option, or let's say a pushing sentence, because every CEO or every leader of a company wants to be safe, more or less. I mean, it's in our human nature to keep ourselves safe and to not get into any trouble. And if they are saying that, okay, if you get into trouble, it's your fault, that's a totally different story. And I believe that many CEOs or many high-ranking officers will listen differently if they will feel that actually it's about them as well. So the framework which I mentioned in the beginning, what it eventually will create. So you've seen that it's mandatory to have vulnerability assessment, to do auditing, to do asset tracking and all this other stuff. So eventually this will create in all those companies, in all these industries, a multi-layered security structure, right? We know for a certain that this is missing, right? So many companies, especially companies with 50 employees, which is the starting point for NIS2, identify themselves as SMBs. And in the SMB sector, many owners are thinking we are too small, they won't hack us, and it's absolutely enough to have just an antivirus and firewall, right? So they're happy with the current setup of the products and they're not looking in forward. With NIS2, they will more or less need to look forward, and eventually they will be creating a multi-layered security strategy. This means combining multiple security products together, which will form a multiple layers of defenses, which will basically make it more difficult to attacker to actually pass through and be successful. On the second hand, we can say that they will create sort of security high availability. So this means that if one security solution fails, you still have another one, right? So of course, you still need to have both or all three or all four of them. But if something fails, you still have something, right? So it still is or can be difficult for the attacker to pass through. It's product or vendor independent. This is exactly what the NIS2 is actually saying as well. They are not telling you you need to buy, I don't know, ESET. They are not telling you need to buy FWaaS. They are telling you or will tell you that what you probably should have, what kind of framework you should build. There will be absolutely no thing around exact specific product or exact specific vendor. And finally, if you will have a multi-layered security strategy or you already have it, then you know that compliance, such as this, or auditing will be easier. So in the GFI portfolio, we have one product which is actually covering a lot of from the suggested framework of NIS2. And the product is named GFI LanGuard. The GFI LanGuard, in the nutshell, is a product which will scan the network. It will reveal all the missing patches, all the vulnerabilities present on operating system, third-party applications, or mobile devices or network devices. It will be able to have an audit on software which is deployed, reveal the hardware components of the product, and remediate the patches on supporting operating system, which is more or less all the operating systems nowadays companies are using. So all the Windows, Mac, then Oracle Linux, Debian, Ubuntu, CentOS, SUSE, OpenSUSE, Red Hat, and Fedora, right? So it's very robust product. And this robust product from the suggested framework, which I mentioned in the beginning, is actually going to help you with incident handling, in this case, detection and prevention, or even possibly response, we can say, vulnerability handling and disclosure, regular assessment to determine the effectiveness of cybersecurity risk management, pretty much auditing. So I will more focus on the vulnerability handling and disclosure, because exactly this portion is in many companies acknowledged like nice to have, right? Antivirus, as mentioned previously, is like something which company already identifies like, I need to have that. Firewall, etc. The same, I need to have that. Maybe email security, the same. They acknowledge that it's mandatory. But vulnerability assessment is like, well, yeah, maybe if we have money, we'll buy it. Maybe we don't need it. Maybe we are too small. So a lot of companies are skeptical, right? And as I mentioned, through these industries, these which I listed, and through this definition that 50 employees or 10 million of revenue, then those companies will more or less will need to acquire a vulnerability assessment tool. So what is that actually? So vulnerabilities in the nutshell are everywhere. I'm 100% sure that you have vulnerabilities on the computer from which you are taking this Zoom event, right? If you're not scanning it, then it's absolutely, I'm sure about it that you have vulnerabilities. If you are scanning it, then I'm absolutely sure that maybe tomorrow or in 1 week or in 1 month, there will be another vulnerability which will be present in your system, right? So with the vulnerabilities, it's not question if. Or let's say it's not question if you have a vulnerability. The real question is when the vulnerability will be discovered and who will discover that vulnerability. Because as you see on the slide, they are present everywhere: workstations, IoTs, servers, network devices, laptops, applications, operating systems, everywhere. Right? The vulnerabilities are basically flaws in the code, right? Or, well, might not be even a flaw. It's simply the way how the code is written. And sometimes it's just overcome, right? So the hackers, through reverse engineering, they can just find the weak spots in the code and they can exploit it. So why is the vulnerability actually important? I mean, I already pictured that it could be misused, but why the reaction or why the vulnerability scanner is important? So on this example, we see a proxy shell vulnerability, which was very serious, and it cost a lot of money to companies which have been running Microsoft Exchange. The proxy shell vulnerability is basically a combination of 3 different CVEs, right, which have been more or less discovered in 2021. Not surprisingly, it's still a case. Still, a lot of companies are suffering from proxy shell. The reason why is because they don't know about it, right? Even when you think that, oh, I'm going to read the internet for vulnerabilities, I'm going to focus on it, it's not possible. It's not humanly possible for one or even a couple of administrators to deal with vulnerabilities just by reading the internet news or just browsing and trying to find stuff on CV or SANS or OVAL libraries, right? You need to have a scanner which will continuously go through your system and will tell you where are the weak spots. But that's a different thing. So let's have a look on the timeline. So the vulnerability was found in April 2021. The recognition of the vulnerability happened on April 14th. Vulnerability was fixed on May 2021. So this gives you immediate understanding why this is a problem, right? So the hackers found it in April. The fix came in May. So this is 1 month. So if you don't have a vulnerability scanner or you are slow in recognizing the vulnerability, then there is 1 month which you are literally giving to the hackers to exploit your system. That's what NIS2 is trying to fix, to basically lower this time between April 2021 and May 2021, right? So 1 month. They want to shrink it down to make it more difficult to exploit, more difficult to hack. But what happens next? The patch was issued by Microsoft in May 11th, right? So again, 1.5 months. The patch was publicly available more or less on the same day, right? So 1.5 months until we actually have the solution. So all of that could be addressed by LanGuard. So LanGuard can, once the vulnerability is recognized, at this point, LanGuard can already scan it, right? So that's the reason why the vulnerability scanner or the vulnerability was mentioned in NIS2, lowering the 1 month to half. The second thing which LanGuard is actually capable of delivering is patch management. So LanGuard can fix this. So once the patch is publicly available, right, on May 11th, LanGuard can actually deliver the patch automatically, right? The issue over here is if you don't have a patch management or you don't have any patch process established in your company, then it's totally unknown when the patch will be deployed. So from 1 month, you are giving more time to hackers to exploit this vulnerability. As far as I remember, on average, it's 67 days. 67 days, which takes an on average company to deploy the patch. So it's 1 month plus 67 days, and we are getting to 97 days, right? So 97 days is a huge amount of time. And again, I will repeat myself, this is exactly what the NIS2 is trying to fix. So the GFI LanGuard, besides of what I explained over here, it's revealing a lot of information. So GFI LanGuard can tell you about the model and serial number, users and groups, node vulnerability level, deployed operating system, security audit policy, password policy, organization units, categorized software which has been deployed, open TCP UDP ports. You see that on the screen. All of that information is being revealed by LanGuard. Now, in the beginning, in the suggested framework by NIS2, I was also saying that there is a point of regular assessment to determine the effectiveness of cybersecurity risk management measures. So more or less in the nutshell, audit. So in the audit, you can, the best practices when it comes to auditing is to create an audit checklist. On this slide, we have an example of audit checklist. So you can like inspect the servers, assess your current backup strategy, perform penetration testing, identify threats, identify sensitive data and location, etc., etc. Of course, this might vary from company to company because every company is doing a different business. I would not expect to have the same checklist for a water treatment plant or water distribution plant and power plant or a bank. So I would not expect the same checklist. But in the nutshell, I would expect that the majority of these items would be the same on multiple checklists across multiple companies and multiple industries. So with LanGuard, again, LanGuard can help significantly with this checklist. So it can find you, it can help you with identify threats, ensure every workstation has an antivirus, ensure all operating system and third-party software is up to date, identify all operating system present on the infrastructure, inspect server, ensure the safety of sensitive data, look for unauthorized access points. The other stuff could be, for example, just pretty done manually, right? So review logs, well, that potentially could be done by CM, but perform penetration testing, I think that is more or less on people, or also audit the firewall rules and these kind of stuff. These will more or less be always done by a person. So the cybersecurity audit is not always about the product. It's about combination of human element and the product. So that is more or less what I had prepared for you today. So to sum this up, NIS2 is a European-wide regulation. It was introduced in January 2023. It will be enforced more or less in October 2024. It's actually making cybersecurity level a mandate. It is not telling you what products or what vendors you need to do. At this moment, it's suggesting you a framework which is conducted from risk management, security policies, incident handling, supply chain security, vulnerability handling, and disclosure, regular assessment, and use of cryptography. It is European-wide. It will also be more or less applied on United Kingdom, and India is following us in this case. So yeah, that is just to recap. And in case that you have any questions, then feel free to ask.
That was really great. So yeah, while we are waiting for our partners and friends to participate with their questions, I wanted to give just a few notes I catch during your presentation, which was definitely great. So I think that there is one more aspect which NIS2 is trying to help in a country as well. So one of vectors of attack, especially on enterprise, going through small companies,
yes,
which are not regulated. We see more and more often that big companies, when they start doing business with some contractors, small, medium companies, they demand to be to declare what kind of security they have, what kind of firewall, what kind of antivirus, what kind of security procedures. And you see, if not country set up regulation, people are trying to protect themselves without
I absolutely,
so
I absolutely agree.
I have one very because you mentioned misunderstanding between branches. So management with difficulties can follow IT. Like me personally, I do not understand doctors, and it's very important to use some arguments which are close to the people. So I just got a very funny idea. So it's like on the highway, that trucks should go on technical exam every year, but personal vehicles does not. So no matter that we are equal threat on the highway like trucks, me as a personal owners of the cars does not need to have check of brakes and engine and so on and so on. So yes, what NIS2 actually offering through European funds some benefits to the companies which want to go that way. And that's the case where we should be smart and help our partners and help our customers to get those funds and to improve their position and not to be slowed down and maybe fine or get some penalties through that. So yeah, it's a great opportunity for all of us to increase safety of our companies, small companies in the first place, and consequently all society to become more safe and so on. I see no questions. Anybody maybe some comments, some ideas, or some personal experience on this field?
I would maybe add to what you mentioned, the supply chain attack. So I believe that everyone still remembers the biggest supply chain attack which happened in the modern age, I mean, in the last 2 years, which was the British Airways, which is an enterprise, like their security, the security is really on a high level, but they still got hacked through supply chain by a very small company which was doing some repairs on the planes. And yeah, they had to pay like 150 million, or well, it was a huge amount of money. And the part of that hack was that the credit card credentials, entire credit card credentials of thousands and thousands of their customers have been stolen. So the impact was massive, right, of the supply chain. And what we are seeing in other parts of the world, for example, in US and also in UK and some European countries, is that if a bigger company is going to have a smaller company to supply something, a service or a product, many times the requirement is if the company has a certification, for example, ISO 27001, right? Because ISO 27001 or later on NIS2 or others is declaring that the company is already doing some countermeasures to not be part of the supply chain. So from business perspective, smaller companies might be more and more reaching to these things because they know that they will not make business with bigger companies or bigger vendors because they will simply refuse. They will not accept the risk which might be coming from that company, right? So it's no longer about the quality of the product or the quality of the services which your company is offering, but it will be also about the security your company has.
Exactly. Yeah. Many different aspects. It's not easy to put together at once. So, but this type of how to say conferences help have a different angle of view.